Apparently, Elon Musk acting as an unelected co-president is starting to get to even Trump's own cabinet members. The fact that Elon was handed by Trump so much power without their approval. They call him Elon. He has the most beautiful rocket. I've seen his rocket. It's beautiful. It comes down like bing bong bong, as Trump might say it. And Marco Rubio snapped and was fed up with it. And I have some really interesting stuff on that. But apparently this has been getting to Rubio. Then I'll show you what it is that happened between Rubio and Elon Musk, leading to Trump deciding finally to rein in some of the power, apparently, of Elon. We'll see. And I think it's getting to people like Rubio that Trump started his public cabinet meeting with Elon, stand up and give us the updates.
Also based on balancing budgets and getting our country back into shape, and this is a big part of it. So Elon, if you could get up and explain where you are, how you're doing, and how much we're cutting, and it's an honor to have you. He's been a tremendously successful guy. He's really working so hard, and he's got businesses to run. And in many ways, they say, "How do you do this?" And you know,
he's so brave. You know, I mean, he's willing to come in and benefit his businesses through his governmental power. What selflessness.
Sacrificing a lot and getting a lot of praise, I'll tell you, but he's also getting hit, and we would expect that, and that's the way it works. So I'd like to have Elon Musk please say a few words.
Well, thank you, Elon. Thank you, Mr. President. I actually just call myself a humble tech support here because...
Do you remember when they got really upset at Zelensky for not wearing a suit? A wartime president, like how Churchill didn't wear a suit when he came to the White House. And I haven't heard them call Churchill disrespectful. I haven't heard them call Elon for not wearing a suit and wearing a graphic tee. They haven't been upset with that. And then just as a reminder, look at Rubio's face, because we're about to hear about the confrontation that took place between Elon and Rubio. But apparently right here, he was simmering and then eventually combusted. Reminder, if you appreciate the show and you're not yet, there's millions of people who watch the show who aren't subscribed. It's crazy. Please do click the subscribe button.
And I should say, we will make mistakes. We won't be perfect. But when we make a mistake, we'll fix it very quickly. So, for example, with USAID, one of the things we accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola prevention.
Driving to the wrong address when you're going to a party is a moment. Ordering the wrong meal for your friend when you're picking up food for them is a moment. Canceling Ebola prevention is not a moment.
Accidentally canceled very briefly was Ebola prevention. I think we all want Ebola prevention. So we restored the Ebola prevention immediately, and there was no interruption. But we do need to move quickly if we're to achieve a $1 trillion deficit reduction in financial year 2026. It requires saving $4 billion per day, every day, from now through the end of September.
And of course, he did not prevent interruptions in the prevention of diseases. He did not address the mistakes in the effective manner that he promised there. And we've been covering that obviously every single day. And this whole imagery, it all apparently got to Marco Rubio. So let's check in now on where that turned out, which is this. New York Times reports, inside the explosive meeting where Trump officials clashed with Elon Musk, simmering anger at the billionaire's unchecked power spilled in a remarkable cabinet room meeting. The president quickly moved to rein in Mr. Musk. Marco Rubio was incensed. Here he was in the cabinet room of the White House, the Secretary of State, seated beside the president and listening to a litany of attacks from the richest man in the world. Apparently, Musk was berating him, saying, "You're not doing enough. You little Marco," as Trump described him. Seated diagonally opposite across the elliptical mahogany table, Elon Musk was letting Marco Rubio have it, accusing him of failing to slash his staff. "You have fired nobody," Mr. Musk told Mr. Rubio, then scornfully added that perhaps the only person he had fired was a staff member from Mr. Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Mr. Rubio had been privately furious with Mr. Musk for weeks, ever since his team effectively shuttered an entire agency that was supposedly under Mr. Rubio's control, of course, USAID. But in the extraordinary cabinet meeting in front of President Trump and around 20 others, details of which have not been reported before, Mr. Rubio got his grievances off his chest. I would love to see Marco Rubio confrontational. You know, the last time he was in a confrontational setting, he quite literally did this and just tried to sink into the couch as much as possible. So I'm curious to know. I wish there were video, but all we have is this. It was a private cabinet meeting. Mr. Musk was not truthful, Mr. Rubio said. What about the more than 1,500 State Department officials who took early retirements and buyouts? Didn't they count as layoffs? He asked sarcastically, whether Mr. Musk wanted him to rehire all those people just so he could make a show of firing them again. Then he laid out his detailed plans for reorganizing the State Department. Mr. Musk was unimpressed. He told Mr. Rubio he was good on TV, with the clear subtext being that he was not good for much else. Throughout all of this, the president sat back in his chair, arms folded. That little posture that Trump does where it looks like he's a little baby who had his animal-shaped noodles slapped out of his hand. I can imagine him sitting like that. And he sat there as if he were watching a tennis match. After the argument dragged on for an uncomfortable time, Mr. Trump finally intervened to defend Mr. Rubio as doing a great job. So great, little Marco. Mr. Rubio has a lot to deal with, the president said. He's very busy. He's always traveling and on TV, and he has an agency to run. So everyone just needs to work together. And apparently this is being described as a turning point where it wasn't just Marco Rubio who was angry and confrontational, but other officials, leading to Trump ultimately saying from now on, the secretaries would be in charge. The Musk team would only advise. So we'll see if that actually ends up happening. But remember, whenever Musk, in the clip you watched, reminding you of what it is that upset Rubio, the statement he made about cutting the deficit by $1 trillion. And apparently they're going to do that through shutting down agencies and cutting off lawfully allocated funds. But while they're doing that, they're pushing through Congress a bill that would increase the deficit by trillions because they're just so hungry. They're so lustful for more tax cuts for the rich. And so it is, I don't mean literally, but it is figuratively, if that makes sense, criminal. It is a violation of our basic obligation to each other, to this society, that he's walking around in his tech support t-shirt with his black goth hat on. And Trump's so proud of Elon Musk and the rocket that comes down and it flies in this little circle. I'm thinking of that, by the way. That keeps coming up because we have a segment that's related to that. And I'm going to play that video of Trump ranting about the rockets. But it's on my mind. You'll see. It's going to be on your mind later. But they're all having a good old time. Cut. Ruining people's lives. Layoffs. Jobs market's going to be impeded probably within the next month or two. We'll see those numbers showing up. And all of it's happening in front of the backdrop of them being willing to worsen the mother-loving problem that they say they're trying to solve. I know the reason I'm speaking like this is because I keep having to say it, and I know it is repetitive for our regular viewers, but how else do you say it? They're willing to trade off aid that goes to crucial prevention of diseases abroad, to which Scott Jennings says, "What, you think that Elon Musk created Ebola? No, Scott." Necessary funding for starving children, necessary funding for schools, necessary funding for health clinics, for for domestic violence shelters, for nonprofits doing the Lord's work. All of that, they'll trade it all off so that more wealth in this environment of crazy wealth inequality can be shoveled down the gullet of those who are already so wealthy. Cuts to Medicaid in exchange for more cuts for rich people's taxes. Really. And then they'll give you, as Trump says, peanuts. Oh, but we gave you a eensy weensy expiring tax cut. What? You didn't love that? Sickening. So I guess I would say good for Marco Rubio, but I don't know. Man, we're going to have to see how this actually plays out. Share your thoughts in the comments. Support the show. Get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below.